what is going on? Why, oh why? Am I going to wear it to the supermarket to do my shopping? That would be hilarious. Why? I remember when I first discovered that I loved sewing. It was thrilling, it was exciting, a whole new world had opened up to me. Whether it was discovering new beautiful patterns, gorgeous fabrics, machines that were out of this world, or notions that I just didn't know exist but needed immediately, the world was my oyster. It was easy then. I was working, I had a disposable income, I didn't go out drinking, I didn't smoke, I didn't take vacations or holidays, and so I was able to justify spending that money on a hobby that I absolutely love. But hindsight is a wonderful thing. Over time, I've accumulated a lot of stuff. Some of it was really good decisions, and I'll be talking about that in a future video, so do hit subscribe if you want to know more. But some of it, at best, was unnecessary, and at worst, stupid decisions that I made. Just a quick note to say that if you do have disposable income and you enjoy spending that money, by all means carry on. This isn't a judgment on anyone. I just want to help those in a similar situation to me who were new and excited by their hobby, or even have been sewing for a while and are excited to buy all the things, but they don't necessarily have the disposable income anymore to do that. So I hope this video brings some value to some of you. So let's hop over and have a chat about the things that I think are the dumbest purchases that I've made. So the first thing that was a dumb decision on my part was purchasing an Ikea sewing machine. Now this thing looks like a Fisher-Price toy, like a toy that you would give a 2-year-old, but obviously that would be a stupid decision. I don't have it to hand. I got rid of it many years ago. I could not see the back of it, but I'll put in a picture that I took at the time when I was very proud of my machine. I was doing a lot of DIY at the time, and I was dipping my fingers into lots of different things, and sewing is something I started to look at. I was in Ikea buying all the things, and I saw this sewing machine. I thought, yeah, I'd quite like to give that a go. So I bought it. It was £45, which was significant, but not a massive amount. And then it just sat in the corner of my front room for many months. I kept looking over at this machine thinking I should use it. I was a bit intimidated. Then I came across Tilly and the Buttons and I started to give it a go. And the love of sewing really took off. But my frustration for that sewing machine also did take off. So I only was using that sewing machine for a couple of weeks. It was not fit for purpose. If you're new to sewing and you're wanting to buy your first machine, do not buy this one. It is not meant to be used regularly. I would say that machine is, if you've got the odd alteration, maybe you need to take your curtains up once every 3 years or so, then this machine might work for you. But it's not a great machine if you want to make a hobby out of sewing. The main thing with this is I did not know what I was buying. I'd actually taken advice from a colleague at work who had said, just quickly looked at it because she sewed a little bit, and she said, yeah, it does all the things. It had a straight stitch, it had a zigzag stitch, which are the things that you need when you're starting to sew. You have to have experienced it to know where I'm coming from. I cannot express in words just how bad this sewing machine was. So that was the first sewing machine on my journey of, then I had that one, then I had another one, then I had another one, then I had my one here. So it was a journey to get to the right one, but I would say that first sewing machine was a dumb mistake to make. So the next dumb mistake I made was buying lots of bias binding from China. Super cheap stuff. I was thinking I was getting a bargain, but that's something you've got to be really careful of when you're buying online. It's cheap for a reason usually. I bought this, probably bought this 5 or 6 years ago, and I've still pretty much got it all. It just feels like paper. It's so stiff. It's probably been starched. But I just do not know what I would use this for. If you've got any clue what I could use this for, do let me know. It's probably cotton, And that is cut on the bias, so I can see it's cut on the bias, but it's odd. It's really odd. Maybe you would use this if you were doing a full circle skirt and you wanted it to puff out, you might use this. But I make more everyday items, so I don't know what is going on, but what a stupid purchase. I also purchased loads of ribbons. I've got some of them here. I bought this big satin ribbon here when I was going to make a Gertie dress. Never made the dress, and now I'm stuck with this ribbon. I have no idea what I'd use this for. Maybe to wrap Christmas presents. I've also bought complete reels of satin bias binding from China, and I bought that in 3 colours. There's another colour. So that satin bias binding isn't even cut on the bias, I don't think. Whenever I use it, it doesn't curve around like necklines or like underarms. It just does not work. I made a Helen's Closet pinafore and I put it on there and it was completely horrendous. And after that, I just stopped using it. So it's just sitting there in my drawer. I thought it was cheap, but it wasn't as cheap as if I'd made my own bias binding out of the same fabric that I make the garment with, which is what I do now, and I get a much better experience because that's actually cut on the bias and it's got the same weight as the fabric that I'm using, so it's just much better. If you're new, I would definitely take the time to learn bias binding for your own garments out of your own fabric. So the next set of dumb purchases that I bought was pattern cutting tools. When you're a brand new sewer, you don't need pattern cutting tools. You need a sewing machine that does a straight and a zigzag stitch. You need some fabric and a pair of scissors and some thread, and that's all you really need. Maybe a ruler. But I went all out. I bought a pattern notcher. I've got all these pattern drafting rulers that I don't think I've ever used really. I've got this bendy ruler that hasn't actually got any lines or anything on it. So it's not even a ruler really. That's for like working out the curve, like maybe the curve under your arm or the curved seat of your pants maybe. And that's for when you're drafting patterns. I don't draft patterns. And yet I felt it was necessary to have all this stuff. Another thing I bought that I don't use is this meter rule. I bought this from my local hardware store. Interesting, just before I started filming this, I was watching Megan Handmade and she was saying that she swears by this for her quilting tools. But I don't quilt. And this ruler's all bent up. Look at that. Rubbish all over it. This has just been sat in the bin for ages. I've just taking it out. It's going to the dump because it's just no good to me. It's all bent up. And while we're on the subject of rulers, I bought this. Now I had watched a video by a professional pattern cutter or designer. She was saying that get one of these so that when you cut your muslin fabric you may need to stretch it so it goes back on grain, and this, because it's got the 2 sides, it will help you to line it up. I have never ever used, I think I tried it once when I first got it and I've never used it for that. Maybe I'll use it in the future. I'm going to keep it just in case I do, if I go into pattern drafting, which is something I do want to play around with, so maybe I'll use it in the future. But did I need it 5 years ago, 6 years ago when I started sewing? No, I didn't. I needed fabric, scissors and thread is what I needed. So that was another dumb purchase. So these pattern notchers, I bought these because I wanted an easy way of notching my fabric. But these are not fabric notchers, they are pattern notchers. So when you create a pattern or a block, you would use this to notch the paper. The blade in it isn't sharp enough for fabric. And I did use it for fabric, but it didn't last very long. It was a couple of quid from China. If I get into pattern drafting, I'll use it. But did I need it? No, I didn't. And these rulers, now they do come in handy when you're doing, if you need to do amendments to, say, a bra pattern or something with a really small curve, then they'll come in handy, really handy. So I will keep hold of these. Did I need these? No, I didn't. I absolutely did not. Yet another dumb purchase. You know, the more this video goes on, the more stupid I'm feeling. But, you know, in a way, I don't feel stupid because it's an experience and I've learned from it. And I do hope that you'll take on board what I'm saying for your own purchases. Maybe you weren't as dumb as me in making purchases. Who knows? But my next purchase is these. These are embroidery threads with glitter on them. I bought this. Can you believe I bought like 9 or 10 reels of this? And that's because I think it was Abercan or someone like that was selling them off for like 99p for one of these. And I was starting my business up and I thought, oh yeah, I can make a profit off that. Do you know what, Claire? If a well-established shop can't make a profit off of it, I don't know how you're going to. And that was a hard lesson to learn. I've got quite a few things that I had for my shop that just didn't sell. Some of it I've used, but a lot of it I haven't. And this was something that I didn't. My takeaway for this is a bargain is not always a bargain. If they're selling it dirt cheap, there's usually a reason. Now this might be okay if it could go through the sewing machine, but because it's got glitter on it, it can't go through the sewing machine. So it's only good for hand embroidery. If you can use these, let me know. Leave me a comment. I'm happy to send them to you if you're willing to pay postage. So let me know. Just a couple more to go, but before we get into that, question of the day, leave me a comment down below. Let me know, can you relate to any of this? Have you made similar mistakes or were you too savvy to make these mistakes? I'd be really interested to know. But the next item is novelty prints. So here's some that I've got here. When I was first sewing, I was buying all the prints and all the quilting cottons, I have to say. Now, many beginner sewers make this mistake of buying quilting cottons, and I can see why. They're really easy to sew, they're so stable, and you can get lots of really fun prints. I know with me, when I look at a print in a shop, I think, oh, that's absolutely gorgeous, I've got to have it. But when you're at home, what can you use this fabric for, honestly? And all 3 of these pieces I've had in my stash for years. This one I got off eBay. It's actually really good quality, but it's horses. What can I make with that? Maybe a circle skirt, but you know, I'm 45 years old. I just don't think that's appropriate for me. Maybe I could use it for a toile, but that seems a bit of a shame because it is so lovely. So this one I bought maybe 3 years ago. A local shop was shutting down and they were selling off their fabrics, and I think I got this for about £4 a metre, down from 10, and I absolutely loved it. It's got little mannequin dresses, but I've never ever found the right pattern for it or the right garment for it because it's a novelty print. And I just don't know where I would wear that. I might put that on the back of a quilt or something. But again, it's a quilting cotton, so I don't really wear quilting cottons anymore. So, and the piece de la resistance is this thing. Why, oh why did I buy this thing? It's not even nice fabric, I have to be honest. So I bought this from the textile centre, and if you're in the UK, you'll know the textile centre do offer very affordable fabrics, but this was super cheap polyester. It doesn't feel nice. I mean, it's pretty funky. I actually did have inspiration to make a coat out of this. I saw the singer Pink do the Brit Awards in something similar, and I was inspired to do it. But honestly, where am I going to wear this? Am I going to wear it to the supermarket to do my shopping? That would be hilarious. Or, you know, to job interview. No, I'm just not going to wear it. So why put the effort into making something with this? It's got a little bit of stretch actually. It's like a woven stretch. It's quite thick. quite stretchy as well. I might use these. I have to see how much stretch these have got actually. Like that way, which is salvage to salvage, it's got no stretch, but it's got stretch length. It's got loads of stretch lengthways. But because it's newspaper print, I don't suppose it would matter. Would it matter if it was round that way? Yeah, probably would. Anyway, it'll make 12 fabric. Maybe it'll make a 12 for the Mountain View jeans. Because that seems like it's got quite a lot of stretch. Maybe 50% stretch. Why? Just why? So another dumb mistake I made when I started sewing, and this one I probably spent a lot of money on. Not as much as the final thing that I'll talk to you about in a minute, but this thing was a lot of money and it wasn't great for my self-esteem either. So this was the most frustrating out of all, and it was to buy paper patterns that just did not fit me. I'm so ashamed. Tilly in the buttons, love them, but they didn't fit me. I've got another Tilly in the buttons there. I've got a deer and doe there. I've got victory patterns. I've got another victory patterns. I've got big four. This is a very, very small selection of what I've got that I can't use, and they're just sat there. Partly in the hope that one day when I get to a size that I can wear them, that I'll make good use out of them. But I might just sell them because they're just sitting there gathering dust. But why did I buy them? So 5-6 years ago, the whole terrain of sewing patterns was very different to what it is now. There was hardly anything, if anything, for people in my size. So the only patterns, the only inspiration that I would have is to look at these patterns and other patterns and people like Lisa Comfort, although she was not the only one, and I would have to get my inspiration from those. But you may or may not know that what fits a size UK 10 isn't going to suit me at a size 26. It's just not. And I'm absolutely over the moon now that the sizes have improved and there's lots more choice, but I've still got all these patterns sitting on my shelf. One good thing when you've got a pattern that only goes up to a size 18 is it really encouraged me to learn how to grade patterns up. I did that for a while and soon become quite resentful that I had that extra step that other people have not. So at least I've got that skill. But on the negative side, I did not have any idea what suited me, and it's something I'm still learning on. I'm going to have a series coming to you very soon that is going to help me with that, and I hope it will help you too. And for the final piece, we're going to have to turn around. I wonder if you can guess what? It's not the plant, let's say that. So this is the thing that I was the most excited about. I spent the most money on. And it was the dumbest purchase that I have made to date. Now, if you've done this, it may not be a dumb decision for you. It may have been a really smart decision for you. But for me, in my circumstances, I look back and I think, why, oh why? So let's get into that. I'm not going to hold this up for very long because it's very heavy. And I'll make myself ill. But it's this bad boy, and this is my Janome Coverstitch Pro 2000 CPX. So let me tell you a little bit about why I ended up with this purchase. So I had my eye on it for a good year. I really wanted one. Everyone in the sewing community were talking about them. Few people had them, but everyone wanted them. I was also having some problems with tunnelling when I did a double stitch on my sewing machine, and I thought this was the answer. A very, very expensive answer, but I was convinced it was the answer. Also at that point I was loving all the shiny things. I just bought my new sewing machine about a year before and absolutely loved it. So I went ahead and purchased this on monthly payments, no less, because it was a big purchase for me. and I don't know why. So it cost £550. I've used it about 10 times, so that's £55 per use. I need to get using it to get more for my money out of it. And so you will see videos in the future where I talk specifically about this machine. When you buy a pattern notcher for 99p on eBay, it might be a dumb decision, but it's 99p. When you buy a machine for £550, that's a different story altogether. I actually did a video about my surgery, which you can't really see, and my cover stitch when my channel was first launched. So it's a little bit rough around the edges, but I'll put a link down below in case you want to have a watch of that. So one word that's come up a lot, apart from dumbest in this video, is why. Why did I make some of these purchases? I had a thought about it, and I think the main reason is I wanted to find happiness in the instant gratification that is buying all the stuff. I was faced, and I'm still faced, if you saw my video the other day you'll know, with quite severe chronic illness. I was working in a job that was highly demanding, and this gave me a little bit of enjoyment at that time. I also really bought into the idea that having all these things would make me a better sewist, and it's just not true. What makes you a better sewist is practice, and lots of it, and you need minimum basic tools to do that. My advice there is to use what you've got and learn new techniques, learn new skills, learn to hack patterns so that you don't need to buy so many patterns. There are ways and means of saving money in sewing. And the best advice is to save your money for when you really, really want or need something. That's what I wish I'd done. But at the end of the day, I enjoyed myself at the time, so I'm not going to be too hard on myself. And, you know, I've got some lovely things. So if you like this video and you'd like to see more, do hit the like button down below. YouTube loves that. Leave me a comment and subscribe because I love that. And if you'd like to support me further, I do have a Ko-fi account and a Patreon. So until next time, happy sewing, stay safe. Bye for now.